Hello, and welcome to Mindful Discourse, a presentation by the Office of Multicultural Affairs. To begin, let's talk about why we're here today. To prepare for upcoming school breaks, you may need to learn how to engage in mindful dialogue. At UNC Asheville, we often discuss conflict with civility, but we think that learning how to be mindful is the key. During this presentation, you will learn strategies that can help you have meaningful conversations, as well as how to increase mindfulness when engaging in conversations with those who are different from you. So what exactly is mindfulness? Merriam-Webster defines it as the practice of maintaining a non-judgmental state of heightened or complete awareness of one's thoughts, emotions, or experiences on a moment-to-moment basis. So how does this relate to civility? To us, civility is the byproduct of mindfulness. Take a moment to read through the other definitions listed on the slide. Let's take a look at some differences between how we think about mindful discourse and civil discourse. Mindful discourse is a guided conversation, while civil discourse is based on rules of engagement. When engaging in civil discourse, we focus on the words and reactions of others. During mindful discourse, we focus on ourselves and how we are personally participating. While civil discourse is often based on conflict and reaching a desired outcome, such as everyone agreeing, mindful discourse is a bit different. Think about cooking dinner. If you're too focused on finishing the meal so you can eat, you might forget important ingredients or end up with something that's undercooked. Engaging mindfully means focusing on communication and being present in the process, rather than rushing to reach a specific outcome. When you're having a difficult conversation with someone, how often do you pause to think about why? Often, when we have conflict with others, we do so in order to prove them wrong or prove ourselves right. Challenge yourself to think about how the dialogue could change if your goal was to understand the other person's perspective. Next, we have a few examples of how you can practice mindful dialogue. The first example, active listening, means fully concentrating on, understanding, and responding to others during a conversation. This could involve things like nodding or asking them what they mean. If you're focused on crafting your own response as soon as they start talking, you cannot actively listen. Another important part of this process is responding to what they say, rather than how you feel about what they're saying. It's important to ask yourself what's driving you to ask a certain question or respond in a certain way. This can help you to see if there's common ground between you. Finding common ground assumes that we're both looking to reach the same place. That may not always be the case. This third example can also encourage you to challenge your own belief systems in order to better understand someone else's. Next, we'll discuss what mindfulness looks like during conflict. In order to set realistic expectations, you need to ask yourself what may actually happen during a conversation and what definitely won't. You might also want to ask yourself what's triggering your responses to the conflict, both physically and emotionally. It's also important to separate your interpretation of a situation from the other person's intentions, as these are not always the same. You should also pay close attention to the outcome you desire from the conversation and how that affects your response to conflict. Finally, knowing your boundaries and when it's time to end a conversation are both crucial for mindfulness during conflict. During difficult conversations, emotions can run high, making it difficult to know when it's time to stop. In thinking about ending our dialogues mindfully, we like to use the example of a brick wall and a chain fence. When others approach the conversation with anger by shutting you down or refusing to listen, this is a brick wall. To communicate with others in that state, you have no choice but to yell to get your point across. On the other hand, creating space to discuss your differences, even if you don't end up agreeing with one another, gives you the ability to communicate from your different perspectives, like talking through a chain-link fence. This type of mindful conversation creates a boundary rather than a total barrier. The key is to recognize where your boundaries are for the conversation and to use them, so that neither of you put up a brick wall in reaction to conflict. Thank you so much for joining us for this presentation on mindful discourse. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to the Office of Multicultural Affairs by emailing us at multicultural@unca.edu. Follow us on social media to learn more.